Hello, everybody. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman, and did I say my name twice? This is the TNAM AM Show, unpacking all the things happening. Stretch the old shoulders. Do that thing with the neck. Do the twist. Get that body moving and flowing. Thanks for joining us today, this wonderful morning, Thursday, February 6, 2025. Whew. I will be doing my Strictly Football show at 5 p.m. today. Join us live. We'll be back with Mike Barra, and I think Jim Mitchell will be joining us as well with betting tips for entertainment purposes only for the Super Bowl. Oh, you said the word. You got to say it's the big game. For the big game. For the big game where most people are probably rooting against the Kansas City Cheats. 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 That's what I call them. Is that a little unfair? I think it's kind of unfair to the rest of the league that they seem to be always getting favorable calls. That's what I think. What do you think? Question of the day, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl? Here, let's pull up the chat. Whoa, we got Kenneth. Dude, Kenneth is here. Welcome, buddy. QOTD, question of the day. Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl? I'm going for the Eagles. By the way, I did something this week. I did my first stand-up comedy routine. Whoo, shit. It was terrifying. And that's exactly why I did it. Look at this. Look at this. See all this? I wrote it down on I had no time to plan. Like, I was still writing it as the lights were coming down in the comedy club. And I did it. I did 4 or 5 minutes. And not my only regret. I got a lot. I recorded it so I can watch and I can learn and I can improve. But if my intro was shorter, I could have gotten to my final joke that would have wrapped up DEI and the Kansas City Chiefs, because I think they're a fabricated team. I don't think they're as good as this pseudo dynasty is purporting them to be. Maybe that's a hot take. But yeah, it was awesome. I've always wanted to do this. I finally did it. And I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to post it. I got some feedback like, oh, you're too political. I'm like, too political? You haven't heard anything yet. Holy shit. I was talking about all the U.S. aid funding that was found. I talked about Kanye's wife at the Grammys. I talked about the crash over the Potomac. I talked about, I don't know. It was awesome. Like I was shaking. Like I was just I could talk for 5 hours a day here easily. I always do. But to actually like condense it and try to be funny in like an organized manner and have a game plan. I like trying to crack jokes in like real time. Something happens, someone says something and it sparks an idea and I launch the idea. Sitting and premeditating a whole script, that's just a different muscle that needs to be activated. But it was great. I'm really glad that I did it. Kenneth is rooting for Bud Light. Look, Bud Light's trying real hard to distance themselves from that Dylan Mulroney guy, girl, thing, stuff, commercial, special cans, whatever that was. They're trying real hard. They're like, Shane Gillis. MAGA thinks Shane Gillis is cool, right? Beer drinkers, football fans, they like Shane Gillis. Let's do Shane Gillis. And yeah, Shane Gillis is a likable dude. He's funny. Are we ready to go back to Bud Light? Did they ever apologize? I don't know. Look, I'm a big advocate for not apologizing. I've famously heard Adam Carolla talking about how you never apologize to the woke mob. It is a bad, bad idea. By the way, however you're watching us, hit like, hit subscribe, try to share our show with some of your smart friends. Leave some comments because, like Kenneth does, he drops jokes all day, and sometimes they spark something in me, and sometimes you guys jump in and say, "Hey, did you hear this story?" Or, "Hey, that thing you're talking about, it also reminds me of this other thing." The interaction, the interplay with you is perhaps the best part of this program. So let's jump to it. I have a ton of things to talk to you about today, which is great. Whoop, hold on. I'm supposed to be sharing a screen. Where's that? So much to talk about. Is it sharing yet? Good. Why is it not side by side? I clicked side by side 3 times. My kingdom for a producer. Okay. Million things to talk about. We're obviously going to talk about President Trump protecting women in sports. Why was this even needed? I mean, geez, you brought up Bud Light, Kenneth, and that is the women's in sports thing. Like, why? What was this mind virus? What was happening? Just trying to force people into accepting dudes in ladies' locker rooms, dudes punching ladies in the face or smashing volleyball spikes and breaking their nose and giving them concussions, or winning a gold medal, a first place trophy over Riley Gaines. Why was there a fascination with this? Why are they pushing this? They, whoever they are. What was the fascination? Now you see Candace Owens asking about Macron's significant other. She is convinced that's a dude. Big Mike, you know that story about Bathhouse Barry, Obama. Joan Rivers talked about it, and she was offed, a month and a half later? They didn't. Everybody knows Michelle's a tranny, Joan Rivers said. And she was killed a month later, 2 months later. What is the fascination with trying to take healthy people and say, you're not who you're born as? We want to mangle you and destroy your ability to ever have an orgasm. We want to convince you that a man can be a woman and a woman can become a man, which you cannot. Biologically, you cannot. I thought we reached a place where you can accept people for who they are, and they're allowed to love who they love. And you can even dress how you dress. But this mangling and the money involved with the genital mutilation processes and trying to normalize this, it's not healthy for society. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual talks about gender dysphoria as a medical condition, that we should have compassion for people that are, but like there's also been a large grooming component to this, from education, from the media, from the White House, whatever this last 4-year abomination of a fraudulent Obama third term disguised as a Joe Biden 81 million vote win. Sure. Whatever these two weirdos have been doing, the Obama Biden nonsense, it's been damaging people. It hasn't been helping people. Like I said, they're supposed to be love is love and love who you want to love and do your thing. Leave the kids out of it. Leave the kids alone. And you got into high school sports. You got into high school locker rooms. You got into taking parents away from kids if they're not going to affirm what a confused and undeveloped child might be thinking, because you're showing them weird cartoons, weird books, and radicalizing them with odd ideology. So why was it needed for President Trump to come in and say, it's just going to be women competing against women now? They said that was weird. I say that's normal. They said, sir, it's hateful. I said, no, what's hateful is beating up a woman as a mediocre man. That is painful. That's brutal. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a strange time to be alive. But there has been a thorough repudiation of the Obama doctrine in geopolitical affairs, the dark money financing, pop culture, society. And it's about damn time. Let's jump into the news. Yeah, and you know what? This is the most I've ever cared about women's sports. It is. It is. I do a sports show called the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. If you want coasters, there's $30 a set. There's 4 of them in there, wooden, Ohio-made coasters for the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. $50 for the pair, shipping included. And then there's a pin in there. See the pin? Oh, I got to do this. This is crappy. I got to get a better green screen. But there's an Unhappy Hour pin in there. Those are $25. If you want some, $75 for all 3, $30 for one set, $25 for the pin, $50 for both of the coasters. Shoot me a Venmo at Brian Engelman. Add your address. Tell me what you want, and I will ship one right out to you. I do a sports show called the Unhappy Hour, but I've never really cared about women's sports because I don't have a daughter. I don't find women's sports particularly compelling in almost any way. I'll watch a little lady golf. I don't know. It's just, it's not on my radar. It's not something I care all that much about, but I do care about watching that Thomas person go in and be like, I want to compete against girls and win. Where were the men to just step up and stand and form a line and go, you're not getting in the water, pal. You're not doing this. Society went wild for the past couple of years. The history books that write about this era are not going to be kind to the people that allowed this. You know that women's sports was segregated for a very good reason. Because the nasal cavities, the bone density, the testosterone levels, there's 100 reasons why you don't let men compete with women. And fine, you can do co-ed this and that. You can do co-ed light. I don't know. What can you compete in that's not? You can do co-ed golf or co-ed. But like any sport that involves power and strength. Cold water t-shirt wrestling. No, Kenneth. What did Homer call it? Foxy boxing and such and such. I think Homer did a whole thing about lady sports. What is that quote? Hold on. Homer, Foxy, boxing. Where's why can't I do this? What was the whole? Oh my God, that's funny. Here we go. Oh my God, this is good. Here, let me show you this instead. Lisa, if the Bible has taught us nothing else, and it hasn't, it's that girls should stick to girl sports, such as hot oil wrestling, foxy boxing, and such and such. Lisa, if the Bible has taught us nothing else, and it hasn't. Oh, that first part of the joke is so good. Girls should stick to girl sports, such as hot oil wrestling, foxy boxing, and such and such. My God, that is one of the funniest things I've ever read. Yeah, I haven't cared much, but the reason the sports are segregated is obvious to anybody with functional brain cells. And if any woman, and here's the deal, if any woman wants to jump in and compete against men, they might be an anomaly. They think they're up to it. They are uniquely qualified, competent, strong. I wouldn't recommend it to go play linebacker or wide receiver or running back in the NFL or try to be, fine, whatever you can do. If you can, do it. Any woman should be able to compete with men at the highest level. Sports is supposed to be about meritocracy. But once again, under Barack Hussein Obama and his backward Marxist bullshit, him and LeBron James and Nike and Colin Kaepernick, a mediocre quarterback, a mediocre male. They went to the Super Bowl because he was really good in that pistol formation when they first started with the San Francisco 49ers. But as he aged and took more hits, he got a little slower. The rest of the defenses figured out what the 49ers were doing, and they were able to contain and stop him. And he wasn't a very good pocket quarterback. He relied on his legs and running to kind of trick people into getting the right spots and getting the yardage that you needed. He was trying to sign a massive contract right as his talent level was tanking. He wasn't getting signed, so he went on this insane racist rant saying the NFL was racist against him because he's black or something. And Nike ran with it, BLM ran with it, the Democrats ran with it, and it was always garbage. There is no NFL team that would take a badass player and say, you know what, I don't want you on my team. I don't want to win football games. You're half black. I think Colin's half black. Yeah, he's half black. He's got a white mother, a black father, like Obama. Half white. But he said, I'm not getting paid because I'm black and sports is racist. And Obama injected with Nike and Kaepernick this unnecessary, divisive, bullshit lie of racism into our sports, ruining sports for years since that Kaepernick drama. We're still trying to recover from it. But as I mentioned yesterday, the NFL is taking end racism out of the end zones. So there's that. All right, now let me get to the news. This was from yesterday. Let's click on this. Trump was talking to the media. Is this Peter Doocy? He has words to people, and I have a concern here.
Why is Iran unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to...
Okay, so yeah, this is Peter Doocy, and he's saying why, if it's Iran and their proxies that would threaten to retaliate
against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani.
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
And that is an interesting question there. If President Trump left instructions to obliterate Iran if he's assassinated, he won't be there, so he wouldn't be the commander-in-chief. But if, as commander-in-chief, you left this as a final message, and the thing that you're retaliating against is the thing that you are enacting that final message on, would the military take orders from a deceased president? It's an interesting question I don't fully have an answer to. It would probably be a J.D. Vance question, but would it? I mean, could you leave your own dead man's switch, the one that John McAfee said that he had, the dead man's switch? Could President Trump leave a dead man's switch? I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why, lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said it. If that happens to a leader or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. So I'm signing this, and it's a very powerful document. But
the headline is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Hopefully we're not going to have to use it.
So, this was interesting to me. Obviously, that's kind of like the thing you're supposed to say. But I had a different take, and I just want to put it out there because I don't. Who else is thinking of? I run so far away. Thanks, Kenneth. My thoughts there were careful. The deep state might view this scenario as getting two birds with one stone. They have long wanted to destroy Iran, and they have long wanted to get rid of President Trump. If they could if they could off Trump in a false flag to make it look like Iran was behind it, and you get that war finally in Iran that you've been seeking for so long. So remember General Wesley Clark. Let me pull that up. General Wesley Clark. Let's ask Grok. General Wesley Clark invade nations, quote. There we go. Let me share this instead. Let me read this for you. General Wesley Clark, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, gave a notable interview where he discussed a plan to invade 7 countries in 5 years. In an interview with Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! In March of 2007, Clark described a conversation he had with a Pentagon official shortly after the 9/11 attacks. According to Clark, the official showed him a memo that outlined plans to attack Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and, wait for it, Iran. Clark recounted the official saying, "We've got about 5 years to clean up the Soviet client states before the next superpower comes along." So my concern is that the deep state might get what the deep state wants by staging a false flag attack. They've been trying to kill Trump for a while now. If you're not actively praying for the protection and the safety of President Trump and his team, I would encourage you to consider doing so. If there is some sort of energetic connection to source, let's ask that Saint Michael, or the Archangel Michael, rather, spreads his wings and watches over Trump, his family, and his staff, and our government. Kenneth, I ran in a 4K. No, you didn't. You might have drank 4 cases of Bud Light Lime. But yeah, I just have a concern there. The deep state might view this scenario as getting 2 birds with 1 stone. And I think I don't know if Trump is thinking this way. I think he should think this way. I think he should be careful about what he says on this topic like that, because this might actually give them what they want. Just a thought that I had. Okay. Senator John Kennedy, we're continuing to unpack U.S. aid. It appears to be one of, if not the main source of funding for the backward, demonic, destructive, divisive deep state that's been trying to destroy America for too long now. And so Senator John Kennedy has a thought.
To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow. To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares.
Call somebody who cares. Yeah, it's going to be the Department of Education tomorrow, Lord willing. Here's Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. She is such a breath of fresh air. I am so much happier with her than I was with Karine Jean-Pierre. So much happier.
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOJ team is working on canceling those payments now. So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was...
All right. Yeah. Politico has been getting $8 million from U.S. aid. And what do? They create the lies, the fake news, the anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-constitutionalist, anti-libertarian propaganda so that they can try to harm people getting in the way of their money laundering and piracy, their destruction. The whole ball of yarn is unraveling. Frank Fleming here says, guy trying to describe how bad Trump is. He just shut down a government agency. Crowd cheers. Oh, the workers are out in the streets crying. Crowd cheers more. And he's not done. He's going to do it with more government agencies. Crowd goes Nuts. Actually, I feel like there was a couple that I wanted to share from this one. So let's scroll through. Derek Evans. Ilhan Omar says, U.S. aid is the reason I'm here and not in Somalia. Literally everyone. That's why we want to get rid of it. Aesthetica. What we're finding out in real time is the entire modern left is just smoke and mirrors. I got to fix the aspect ratio there. There we go. What we're finding out in real time is that the entire modern left wing of the government is just smoke and mirrors. There is no left-wing voter base. All the elections are rigged and faked, and the liberal media outlets have no audience, and they're kept alive by U.S. aid funding. All their politicians and political pundits are paid by U.S. aid to say what the government wants. The whole thing was a house of cards. Andrew Wilkow goes, hey, remember that time that ISIS produced content from a U.S. aid tent? Remember that? Remember that, guys? Remember when Obama was funding all the ISIS terrorists? Remember? Obama and McCain, the choice that they gave us in 2008? Remember that? They're the reason why ISIS exists, because they funded them, they created them, and they used them to cause terror and death and destruction so that they could be a boogeyman, so that we could money launder, loot, and pillage. Remember that? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Benny Johnson says, this is the biggest scandal in news media history. No employee at Politico got paid yesterday. First time ever the company missed a pay period. This is a crisis. Now we learn that Politico, a news company, quote unquote, which spent the last 10 years trying to destroy the MAGA movement, was being massively funded by USAID. Trump and Elon deleted their funding, and now Politico will go out of business. And it's showing that massive drop-off of the chasm. Yeah, about the Aesthetica post, our reply there was that it has never made sense that people actually vote Democrat. Democrats mainly exist to plunder America's loot. Unplugging the fraud and abuse is long overdue. Ah, yes. Jack Posobiec here reminding us. Remember when Politico leaked the Dobbs decision and conservative Supreme Court justices were almost assassinated? Remember that? Turns out that was government funded. Politico. Sounds a lot like treason, doesn't it? Here's Tulsi. We like Tulsi. You want to know why we like Tulsi? Here you go.
Admitted a few years ago, quote, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page using a Clinton campaign fund.
And this is all Obama, Clinton. This is treason.
False dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this: this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with the critical task of securing our nation. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you to address these issues. Chuck Schumer.
Beautiful. Well said, Tulsi. Cannot wait. This little gargoyle, little creepy gargoyle. They say that he might not be married to a biological woman either. Have you heard that story? Wonder how this all keeps happening. It's almost like there's part of a plan. There's a plan for this stuff, isn't it? John Stossel is showing this here. These are the people that are big mad. No, not Big Mike. Big mad that the U.S. aid funding has been exposed.
Elon Musk attempted takeover, which will not stand.
Democrats of the D.C. media are furious about Elon Musk trying to cut government, starting with foreign aid.
Going after U.S. aid? This is so preposterous.
On the campaign trail, Musk talked about government waste.
And the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Now, Musk has acted fast, but even if he succeeds in killing U.S. aid, that's less than 1% of the federal budget.
That's 1%. This is just week 3, folks. It took 240 years for things to get this bad. Hey, why haven't the price of eggs gone down yet? Because Biden, with Obama's puppet masters, ordered killing 100 million chickens, and we still haven't figured it out yet, how to get back on track. That's part of the reason. It's going to take a minute to unravel the problems created by this traitorous deep state.
So can Musk's department really reform our bloated government? More efficient government's been promised before, but it's never, ever happened. Government always grew bigger and less efficient. The bureaucrats' endless rules will make things tough for Doge, which is why many say,
rename Doge DOA, dead on arrival.
Going to cut $2 trillion from the budget. It's a joke.
Reformers have long tried.
That Scarborough guy is a joke. MSNBC is a joke. They are deep state propaganda outlets. The Smith-Mundt, you know what? I'm actually pretty concerned, though. I don't know why President Trump hasn't reversed the Smith-Mundt Act ruling. That would see CNN and MSNBC instantly have to change what's happening there. And it's time to run an audit on these companies and see who's funding them. I wouldn't even care if we had a deep state. Of course you want people. You want me on that line? You need me on that line. Or no, you want me on that wall? You need me on that wall. Of course we want people to be protecting this country nonstop from every corner. We don't want you actively subverting our civil rights, our constitutionally God-given rights. And we don't want you running up a $36 trillion credit card debt. We don't want you exploding hundreds of thousands of innocent people in unnecessary foreign conflicts. You've lost the plot, deep state. If you were working to make our lives better, reduce inflation so that our money spends better, spends further, goes longer, helps make ends meet each month, that would be something I could deal with. But that's not the way it is. Almost literally everything the deep state is doing is actively trying to harm the American way of life, harm the American citizen, and destroy our freedoms, liberties, and quality of life. So you did this to yourself. Look nowhere further than the mirror as to why this is all happening. You did this to us, and you did this to yourself.
To reduce spending growth by mocking some of it.
We're spending $700,000 studying how male parrots attract a female.
And more than $100,000 to study finger snapping. The National Science Foundation actually said they were inspired to do this by Marvel villain Thanos. Your government actually paid $118,000 to conclude varying friction between fingers alters the performance of a snap. These YouTubers did a similar test at no cost to taxpayers. Your government also spent hundreds of thousands of dollars
To study whether Neil Armstrong, when he stepped on the moon, said, "One small step for man," or "one small step for a man."
NASA says no A is audible in the recordings.
That's one small step for man.
I don't hear an extra A either, but we paid the National Science Foundation to do that expensive study that concluded ambiguity exists. The list of their stupid spending goes on.
$10,000 that was given to the Bearded Ladies Cabaret to fund ice skating shows about climate change.
Cut it all. But even if they cut all the silly spending, it won't come close to eliminating our $2 trillion a year deficit. Where are the bigger cuts?
We need to cut corporate welfare.
Chris Edwards edits the Cato Institute's Downsizing Government website. What would you cut first?
The first thing I would cut, the federal government spends over $1 trillion in subsidies to state and local governments, K-12 school funding, school lunch funding. This is all activity that should be funded by state and local governments and not the federal government.
The feds even pay for junk food.
Taxpayers are funding chocolate bars and candy and cake. State governments have asked to be able to eliminate junk food in their programs.
And they're not allowed to?
They're not allowed to.
Then there's the government's stockpile of unused buildings.
An unbelievable 300,000 buildings.
People. Many are underused.
300,000 buildings underused. Come on. We are bankrupt. We are 36. And I say we. I didn't put any shit like that on my credit card. You're not coming after me for anything. But every time government grows like this, your dollar is devalued.
Hallways and offices sit empty. On top of that, the feds own most of the land in the West. Most of it.
We don't know the market value. It is in the trillions. So the federal government could really make a big dent on federal government debt if it sold a lot of that land.
But they don't. Instead, they spend millions buying more. At least now, President Trump is making some cuts. Trump ended DEI programs, told the workers don't come in, but he's still paying them.
That is very difficult to fire federal workers.
He had a TV show where the punchline was,
"You're fired, go."
And they just were. But that's not government.
I think we're going to see major reforms on the federal bureaucracy this time around.
Maybe. Until then, Elon Musk is working around the bureaucracy. Since government workers are so hard to fire, he sent an email to almost all.
Yeah, I guess what I see, 30,000 federal workers took a 8-month buyout.
All of them offering 8 months paid leave if they just quit. But even if Trump fired every federal worker, that still wouldn't come close to eliminating our deficit because politicians won't touch the biggest spending.
Unless we are going to talk about Medicare and Social Security reforms, cutting back on government waste is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
The big one is stuff that goes to old people like me, Medicare and Social Security, which are going broke.
It should be easy to start cutting wealthy people off the program.
But so far, the president says no.
Under no circumstances should Republicans vote to cut a single penny from Medicare or Social Security.
If they won't cut Medicare or Social Security, or defense, or Medicaid, and they can't cut interest payments, eliminating the deficit is nearly impossible. On your website, you list 14 big cuts, but that's just $480 billion, less than a tenth of the budget. That's not going to do it.
Trump does not have to solve the entire deficit problem in his 4 years in office, but he's got to get the ball rolling.
Getting the ball rolling means cutting enough that our economy could outgrow our debt. We don't have to balance the budget today, just change the trajectory. But how can the private sector grow when there are so many regulations?
SpaceX had to do the study to see if
Yeah, the regulations on almost everything. When Bill Maher interviewed Jane Fonda and Jane didn't understand that the regulations were completely out of control in California, I mean, that does kind of sum up the modern Democrat voter. Oblivious or completely disingenuous.
if Starship would hit a shark, and I'm like, it's a big ocean, you know. There's a lot of sharks. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely.
Eventually, SpaceX got a pass on the sharks.
And then we thought, okay, now we're done. Then they said, but what about whales? I'm like, it goes on. And then there's like, well, what if the rocket goes underwater, then explodes, and then the whales have hearing damage? Like, this is real.
Maybe DOGE will change things. Hope so. Today's rules and spending are absurd. Can they be reformed? Chris Edwards says,
it can be done.
I'm skeptical. On the other hand, Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
This is the closest we've ever been. Remember when Obama came in? Yeah, Kenneth, you'd think people had enough of the silly spending. I look around and see it isn't so. Well, a lot of the people saying that we shouldn't stop the spending, they're the ones getting the money. That's exactly why they're yelling so loud. That's kind of the gist of it. But remember when the Tea Party came out, taxed enough already, cut the spending, cut the spending. It was a good concept. Did it really go anywhere? But now it's finally going somewhere because there's a couple people that are taking it seriously for the first time ever.
Musk sometimes do surprising things.
Take over, Elijah. Take over.
All right. So there you have it. Sean Davis here. Yeah, I guess that's just one. Sean Davis says, it was Politico that maneuvered to have the Hunter laptop story banned and everyone discussing it censored. Remember that? They're taking funding from the U.S. government, from U.S. aid. They're funding Politico to put all of these garbage pieces of media out. Politico pushing to ban the Hunter laptop story. The truth, so that you could keep the deep state in power by putting Joe Biden, the puppet, in. They said that would have changed 18% of the votes, 1 in 5, in an election that was a landslide until the 7 fraud states did what the 7 fraud states did. 81 million. They hid the Hunter Biden laptop story because it showed he was a degenerate. It showed him with underage girls, allegedly. It showed him in all sort of debaucherous situations that could land him in blackmail trouble. And it showed the money laundering and graft. It showed so many criminal acts. I think they said almost 300 or 400 crimes. The drug use, all sorts of things that were happening in these videos. Untrustworthy, unreliable, highly blackmailable. And that was probably the biggest thing. When you got somebody that out of control, yeah, it's very easy to catch them in something that, hey, now if you do this for me, I won't release this video about you. Politico maneuvered to have the Hunter Biden laptop, the true Hunter Biden laptop story, and the CIA working together. They said U.S. aid was really just a CIA front. Our CIA used to protect America, and now they're in bed with all of the illegal acts that are happening across the globe. The CIA has completely lost the plot. And they're actively working against you, the Americans. I know it's a little heady. I know it's a little convoluted. It's a little ambiguous. Maybe it's a little scary. But you have people who are actively trying to ruin your life in the CIA and Politico, the deep state, the Democrat Party, and the rhinos in the right wing, including Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, and the other corrupt on the right. The MAGA movement is finally trying to get to the bottom of this and put our country back on track. Because we haven't been on track. We've been a train wreck for a long time. Politico also peddled the illegal Supreme Court leak that led to the near assassination of multiple Supreme Court justices. This isn't just a difference in opinion with the deep state and Politico and U.S. aid and the Democrat Party. This is super dangerous, murderous territory. Sean Davis continues, and now we find out that the regime was funneling tens of millions of dollars of our money to Politico? Yeah, Liz Wheeler saying the Politico scandal is worse than you think. It's not $8 million that Politico received from USAID. It's $34.3 million that Politico has received, from various. And then USAID will give it to an NGO, and then NGO will give it back to another place. You go, I didn't fund them. Yeah, you did. You did it indirectly, and you know what you did.
Why is it that 23 years after...
There you go, Tucker Carlson. Why is it that 23 years after, let's talk about the CIA, let's talk about the deep state, let's talk about the false flags, let's talk about being willing to sacrifice how many human lives in order to push an agenda. How demonic is this shit? I don't know. Let's ask.
After 9/11, files are still classified. Why is that? I had a friend die in 9/11, like probably a lot of people in this room. I was there. Totally changed my life. Why can't I know what exactly happened? It's our government. No federal bureaucrat has the right to tell you that you can't know what your government is doing. Who owns this government? The federal bureaucrat who can't be fired? No, I don't think so. We do. If you wind up in a country with over 1 billion classified federal documents, you're living in an extremely corrupt country. Extremely corrupt. Everyone around the world knows that about the United States. We don't know it. We don't think we live in a corrupt country. We do. And we could fix it super easily. And that's just, let's declassify it. Every 9/11 document should be declassified. Oh, shut up, conspiracy theorist. No. If you want to create conspiracy theories, pull down a curtain of secrecy over what actually happened. Why are you afraid to tell me the whole story? Why are you afraid to tell me the truth? We can resolve this right away. Just let me see the evidence. I have a right, I have a moral right to it. They have no moral right to keep it from us. So if I have one hope secretly for this administration, it's massive declassification. And let's find out what they've been doing. What happened to all the $100 billion we sent to Ukraine? There's been no audit. Oh, they don't want to declassify that?
Yeah. Zelensky, we sent $146 billion, I believe 36 or something like that. $146 billion to Ukraine. And Zelensky this week just comes out and goes, hey, just so you know, these numbers being reported, we've only received 46. I don't know about anything about that other 100 billion. How much did the big guy take off for himself? 10 billion? 10% off the top? Where did the rest of that money get rerouted to? We were spending millions of dollars to send celebrities over to Ukraine to try to make them more popular.
Why? Oh, because it's a scam. That's why. Why is it?
So this stuff runs so deep. All right, Liz Wheeler. Oh, geez, is it cutting off part of the screen? I guess it is. We'll do it this way. Liz Wheeler, scoop. Big breaking news here. Journalists, former of Project Veritas, Spencer Meads, Eric Cochran, James O'Keefe, have been under ongoing investigation by the Biden Department of Justice for investigating Ashley Biden's diary. Hey, remember that one? The one where Ashley Biden's talking about her dad taking inappropriate showers with her? Abusing her? The creepy child sniffer that seized power of America in 2020 in a coup with the aid of USAID, Politico, the deep state, the CIA, all the lying legacy media, everybody imaginable tried to get these monsters and demons in charge of our government, abusing his daughter. Then you see Hunter Biden and all of his debaucherous acts on his laptop. So James O'Keefe investigates the Ashley Biden diary. And they never published it, but that didn't matter to Biden's goons. Continuing here. In a pre-dawn raid, FBI agents raided their apartments from Project Veritas, confiscated their phones and their laptops, which the Department of Justice still has to this day. Though none will complain, these young men have suffered for years under the threat of imprisonment for journalism. You're not supposed to be abused for committing the act of journalism. That is a protected right in our First Amendment. They're being persecuted for rattling the Biden regime. The process, of course, is the punishment. Today, the U.S. attorney issued a letter announcing that no charges will be filed and the case is to be terminated. Justice, at last. More to come. Letter below. So go ahead and check that one out. And if you want to remember, what should you tell your friends about the first, here, I can go side by side again. What would you like to tell your friends? Maybe those on the left, they're like, I can't believe, and I am really having engagement with several people on social media that are still suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. This has been the best 3 weeks you've ever seen out of your government. And they're still trying to find ways to complain about everything. If something good, it comes up, and I post about something good, these people are jumping to 3 or 4 other things, cannot even accept a win. They remind you of the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party. They cannot accept a win. Well, hey, look, Ross Ulbricht was freed. Yeah, well, this other thing. Can you just accept a win? Can you give a gold star when it's due? give a gold star where it's due. And here's a few things to remember.
Send this video to every naysaying, Trump-hating basher in your life. Here's the top 10 amazing things he has done in about this long since being in office. And after they read this list, they don't hate Trump. They just hate, okay? Number 1, saving TikTok for now.
TikTok is back.
Sending the Marines to secure the southern border. Ooh, freaking raw. I even got the scoop on that. Establishing Doge, which makes our tax dollars worth more. You're welcome, America. Restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. That's a pretty good one. Making our military stronger. Ooh, rah. Creating a missile defense system for America like they have in Israel, that Iron Dome. That's so badass. That's so Captain America. I love that. Allowing America to use AI to its fullest potential to even potentially cure cancer. People will no longer be hired at government jobs, listen, because of their race, gender, religion, or anything, only on merit. That's
just this one component has forever changed the dark days of this Obama doctrine, taking us on the wrong course. I can't believe this racist, bigoted policy was ever allowed to get rammed through. But they used white guilt. They used the education system. They used their lying legacy media to shame and shame and shame and divide and distract, to conquer. And people rolled over and just went along with it. No more. America is not about this crap. This Obama doctrine has been rejected. Rejected.
That's what's going to get you hired, and that's how it always should have been. Revamping FEMA so we can really take care of our people and stop these $700 checks. And oh, by the way, if you want to add something else cool, flipping on that water over here in California, kudos to you, Trump.
And the water in California, yes, they need more piping. They need more reservoirs. Build the infrastructure. You can easily get that water flowing south for when it overflows out of those cisterns. So do it. Build the straw to suck it up. Build a tank. Then do another straw to another tank and connect those together. Build a redundant system of water storage in California. Figure it out. Trump can only do so much. Figure it out.
Send this to everyone you know who hates Trump, because this man is on a roll. And if you're not thinking these things are good for America, maybe you're not good for America.
Agreed. Kate Monroe, CEO, is who that was. Got to mute the music. The Amuse account. Doge. Democrats in Congress didn't seem to mind that China had remote access to every workstation in the Treasury as recently as December. Now, a month later, they're freaking out that Trump's appointees are accessing the very same computers, demanding violence in the streets. This report here says that China was given remote access to all Treasury workstations. The month before Trump took office, the Biden administration sent a letter to Congress admitting that days earlier, Chinese state-sponsored advanced persistent threat actor secured remote access to every workstation in the Department of the Treasury. Democrats barely blinked an eye, and now that Trump's appointees are accessing the same systems, Democrats are calling for violent street protests. Timothy says Dems in China are on the same side. We're on the other. And it's faux outrage. Then there's this story. Who had U.S. takeover of Gaza Strip for February 2025? Anyone? That's an odd story. I don't know what to make of it. I've said for a long time, if these two sides, if the kids can't play nice in the sandbox, both get out of the sandbox. Go stand in separate corners. There are a few stories that are more tiresome to me than this Middle East conflict over Israel. I'm beyond sick of it. Beyond. And then President Trump was out there and his chief of staff was shooting dagger eyes. Like, what are you saying? Bibi he seemed uncomfortable. And Trump is like, we're going to take it over and we're going to rebuild it. We're going to make it nice. We're going to turn it into a new hot spot. I don't know about that. I just ask, why is the realm where Jesus Christ walked, where all of that history was made, why is that not Christian? Why is that Israeli? All of these areas that are centered around Christ, Jesus Christ. If the two kids won't stop fighting it and they have to get out of the sandbox, why doesn't that just become a Christian theme park? And then you take half of the proceeds and you give half to wherever the new Israel's created and half to wherever the new Palestine is created. If they can't play nice, they both have to get out of the sandbox. I don't know. Explain to me why Islam and Judaism trump Christianity in that region. I'm not smart enough to fully understand that. Leave it in the comments. Or don't. Please don't. It's seriously one of the topics I sort of care the least about because it's completely toxic. Every side is dug in. Nobody's right. A lot of lies going on. And I don't like all the influence. I think it's too much influence. So let's have that conversation. I don't know. U.S. taking over the Gaza Strip? Okay, so we got what? Israel's our 51st state. Ukraine's our 52nd state. Canada will be our 53rd state. Greenland will be our 54th state. Panama will be our 55th state. Doing Mexico too? Some of this stuff is getting kind of weird. I will admit that. Moving on. That's a conversation I never win. And I don't even know if I'm trying to win. I don't even know what the answer is. I don't know, but I think people that hate Christianity in the Christian land, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right steward for that area. Just seems a little off to me. Cat Turd here saying only 3 out of 10 people. All right, yes, that is up. Yeah, Gaza drag strip. Yeah, I saw a joke. It was like President Trump reverses course on Gaza after he learns out that it wasn't actually a strip club. He thought it was a Gaza strip club. I think Steve Byrne made that joke. Cat Turd says only 3 out of 10 people support the Democrat Party now, and only 2 out of 10 men. Let them keep shouting, yelling, and making fools of themselves. Nobody cares. This is all shared from the Brokeback Patriot. Did I play you this clip yet? I don't know. I'll play it again.
About the long list of.
There's so many of these lists, and I've seen Caroline Levitt do several of them. If I played this one earlier, I apologize, but there's so much goofy air quote spending. By the way, I assure you that a lot of this has been money laundered. The powers that be, here's $100K, keep your mouth shut. Hey, do that. It's all bribery. It's all bribery and blackmail and threats, coercion. But it's also trying to warp the brains of people all across the globe with your goofy ideas.
Crap that this administration is cutting federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything. And in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them. This president will continue to put Americans first. And I think the successes of this week so far speak to that. And it's only Wednesday. So I'll see you guys later this week, and we'll see you this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, she's still a little nervous. Tax dollars. She said taxpayers. Said over the last 4 years, they did nothing to help them. Well, North Carolina happened a couple months ago. Maui happened 2 months ago. I'm sorry. Los Angeles happened 2 months ago. So I don't know. She's still kind of finding her feet there. McGillis says the hottest agency in town is USAID. It's got everything. Guatemalan sex changes, artists in wheelchairs, Amazonian gold miners, Latin American gay entrepreneurs, Iraqi Sesame Street, an Al-Qaeda lunch group, bat research in Wuhan. It's the hottest agency in town. Representative Mike Collins, I got laid off today at USAID. I was in charge of making the Taliban trans. Was really starting to make headway too. Nice troll. Oh, this is great. CNN, the Democrats' anti-Musk protest gets laughed off of the CNN table. God, this is great. The purest, most obvious definition of AstroTurf. They keep using Chucky Schumer. It's glorious.
Is a problem, but listen to them today, and they have a piñata in search of a stick.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist!
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses.
We have days to stop the destruction of our democracy. We have work to do. Tell Elon Musk to take his hands off your money.
All of you AstroTurf rioters and protesters that we pay to do this, yell at Elon so that we can keep paying you to do this so it feels like it's grassroots, even though it's completely bullshit, drummed up by our own government, which is like one of the worst parts, perhaps.
We don't pledge allegiance to the creepy 22-year-olds working for Elon Musk.
What makes a genius creepy? What makes a young guy with talent creepy? The fact that you weren't that talented at that age? What a joke. This guy's creepy.
We pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
And goddamn it, shut down the city! We are at war!
We will win.
We will win. I was saying boo earns. Hold on. Were you saying boo or boo earns? I was saying boo earns. Chuck Schumer. Pied Piper saying, what's up, Keith? Dems are losing their collective minds because the money laundering operation is over. Yeah, Chucky Schumer he's at the tip of the spear here. Look at this dork.
We won't rest. We won't rest.
Gretchen.
Yes,
So,
they need the Democrats. The Democrats need a real leader. Okay, they need.
Democrats agree that Musk is a problem, but listen
please play it again. Like I how long is the Democrat Party going to be a Saturday Night Live skit? But the beauty is now that Politico's bankrupt. I mean, unless they're not. I mean, we'll see how it shakes out, but probably. Start watching as all this money dries up. All of the opposition, 90% of it was fake all along. So, actually, I'm going to type that. So, 90% of the anti-MAGA movement was AstroTurf? AstroTurf and fake all along? I guess that's redundant. Anyway, that's a great clip. I love that. Adam Housley here says, what's crazy to me is the insanity of people literally imploding over the people finding massive fraud rather than the people doing the massive fraud. By the way, follow the Brokeback Patriot. A lot of good posts on this one today. Yeah, Kyle Becker saying, fun fact, Politico received U.S. aid funds, $8.1 million. And Poso is saying, let's look at Politico's headlines while they were getting that sweet, sweet U.S. government money from your paycheck. Politico, Hunter Biden story is Russian disinformation. Dozens of former intelligence officials say. Bullshit. It was always bullshit. We all knew it was bullshit. We always all knew that it was bullshit. And they were reporting it because they hate America, they hate Americans, and they don't want their gravy train to run out. You don't hate these traitors enough. The indictments must begin immediately. This is the biggest, most obvious case of election interference that you've ever seen. Their coup in 2020 cannot be forgiven. It must be exposed. We can't undo the damage that was caused when former Vice President Biden in the third Obama term seized control in a coup against Trump. but we do have to talk about it. We do have to expose it. We have to expose the U.S. aid role in funding the Wuhan lab that intentionally released the COVID bioweapon on humanity. Remember when you'd get deleted from saying that? Remember when that would happen? Oh, it didn't come from Wuhan. Or no, it wasn't from the lab. It was a bat kissing a pangolin. Okay. You don't hate them.
Say ID.
Okay, here's another Caroline Levitt question. This is from White House previewing action to protect women's sports. But yeah, this is about Politico.
He has gotten a lot of attention the last couple of days with some of these bizarre things that we've been, taxpayers have been funding. Now it looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening.
I think that might be a slight repeat of a different clip that I already played, so we'll move on. Max Tanny says staff at Politico did not get paid for the latest pay period. The company just sent several emails to employees saying it believes there was a technical error, and they're looking into how to fix the issue. They can't even tell the truth to their own people. But let's ask this. Why is U.S. aid funding the BBC? Fun fact, I was working with the BBC to develop a show called All American Conspiracy. We were doing that in 2015, 2016. We were working on that show. I wonder where my life would be if we would have done that show. Heaven and hell. I wonder if the concept of hell could be to look at your life and how it would have turned out differently had you made different decisions. Now, I know BBC is not an outlet that I want to be a part of. They are deep state. They don't like people like me. They wouldn't let our content get out there. They wouldn't. I know it would have been a bad match. Maybe. But I still could have done different things. I could have done different things. And maybe I could have... right now would be my 10th year on television with the #1 rated show, maybe. It wasn't my path. But yeah, I do wonder if hell is like, if you would have done this, your life would be totally different. Or what if you bought the lottery ticket that day? Or what if you said this and not that? What if you did this and not that? But yeah, funding the BBC. What? BBC Media Action Global Team continuing. Top 10 donors. There you go. In the blue, there's U.S. aid. What is that? 20%? My God. The irony, David Leatherwood, the irony of U.S. aid funded media outlet BBC being forced to report that U.S. aid staff are being put on leave is just BBC News World. U.S. aid staff will be put on leave starting Friday. U.S. government gave the New York Times tens of millions of dollars over the last 5 years, despite paying relatively little money to the New York Times in the years preceding 2021. For instance, in August of 24, the U.S. government awarded $4.1 million to the New York Times. The bulk of the funds came from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services at $27 million, followed by the National Science Foundation. Oh my God. Health and Human Services lying to us about the origin of the bioweapon. Fauci covering his ass, doing the research he wasn't supposed to be doing. There you go. Elon says New York Times is government-funded media. So I guess, Elon, are you going to give him the yellow check mark? I know Elon started giving propaganda outlets yellow check mark for yellow journalism. And Wokeness says that Soros has bought 220 radio stations before the election, and that gets fast-tracked by the FCC. Media goes, this is fine. Elon Musk cuts government waste, and the media goes, jail him.
To my friends
Yeah, we did. Oh, this is such a quick quote. I'll play it again.
who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow. To my
Lord willing. Meet Akash Boba, the 22-year-old. What a goof. Calling this guy a Musk cultist. What does that mean? Who now has access to everyone's social security number. Catherine. Oh no. The government now knows my government issued ID number. I'm so scared. JD Vance. No one voted for Elon Musk. Yeah. Well, they did, however, vote for Donald Trump, who promised repeatedly to have Elon Musk root out wasteful spending in our government.
Elon Musk, I have this
is Rob Schneider.
To say to you on behalf of the American people. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been incredible. We really appreciate it. Keep going. You can do it.
You can do it. Mr. White says Doge employees have arrived at the FBI headquarters. And the comment is, hell yeah, I voted for this, and it's better than I expected. Anyone else feeling that way? This is better than you expected? All right. Well, here's maybe the top story of the day. I can't believe it's gotten to this. Yeah, London was calling. No, really. I had multiple meetings with BBC. I walked in. They have like Top Gear and all these signs of their number one shows. And I had a couple meetings with them. And they gave me a mock-up of a show that looked, I don't know. I remember they freaked out because they were talking about the election that was imminently approaching, and I think they asked, "So, yeah, what about what do you like? What's you have thoughts on the election? Like, you're gonna vote for Hillary or something?" I'm like, I think I laughed in their faces. That might have queered the deal a little bit. I unless that's a phrase you don't use anymore. I heard someone say it back in old timey days. That might have been a moment that soured the deal. I was asked by the BBC producers who were working on this all-American conspiracy show with me, Brian Engelman, and I was going to bring in John B. Wells. We were going to do like the whole thing. And they asked, the election come up, you plan on voting for Hillary? I think my reaction was, no, absolutely not. Trump all the way. And I think their eyes got wide. Their jaws dropped. Like, I don't know if they had ever met one of me before. I knew it wasn't the right environment for me to work in. I think I laughed out loud in the faces of the people who were trying to give me a TV show. I think it was more of like where you take that little triangle on a stick and you do the tap thing on the knee, and the knee does that thing. You get the reflex. I don't think I was trying to laugh in the faces of the people who were trying to put me on television and pay me. I think I was just being honest. Pied Piper asking, did Kennedy do the voice for the old man on Family Guy? You gotta whistle your S's. Herbert the pervert. Hey guys. Hey everybody. Want to go down to the I gotta work my whistling. Want to go down to the swimming hole? Put on your Speedos. Herbert the pervert. He does sound like that. Good call, Keith. But anyway, here's the story of the day. They said, sir, men are creeping on the women in the locker rooms. I said, no more. Only I can do that if they're really young at the Miss Teen USA pageant. But anyway, no more dudes in lady sports. It's official.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
All it took was leadership. All it took was leadership. I got to work on that S. I don't know how to leadership. It's hard to whistle when I talk. I got to get better at it. I don't have to. Add that to the list of things I said I need to get better at that I really don't. But now I feel like trying it. All it took was leadership. This should have never happened. Oh, it's Obama's fetish, Macron's fetish, Schumer's fetish. Fetish. That's it. I got to hit that. I was trying to find the right angle. Fetish. Oh, maybe I did figure it out. No more dudes in lady spaces. Men cannot become women. Women cannot become men. And guys, and girls, it's okay. You can love who you want, dress how you want. Just use the bathroom of the sex that you are. Don't mangle your privates. When you do that, you can never have an orgasm. I'm pro-orgasm for these people. It's like you have a built-in cheat code to kind of give you like a momentary breath of fresh air in your day. All the stress, all the tension in the world, you have a cheat code. It's called an orgasm. You can bring yourself to stimulation. Yes, we're talking about Macron's wife. Candace Owens is completely convinced that's a dude. I am looking at what she's saying, and I am having a hard time taking the opposing opinion with any strength. But look, humans have a cheat code. You go like this. You go up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. And you have an orgasm. And you go, ah. That breath is a nice breath. That is one of the best things on earth. But when you mangle your genitals, trying to take off a dick and trying to turn something into you lose the ability to ever orgasm in most cases. That is a criminal act. And also, let me be clear. I do support your right to mangle away if that's your prerogative. However, if you choose to do so, that must only be after the age of 18, and you must use your dollars only. No federal funding, no government programs to support this. You can do it, but on your dime after 18, when you're done maturing sexually and can make that forever decision. That's my policy. That's pretty straightforward. And I think it's fair. It's compassionate to people. I read the horror stories of people who were not old enough to make these decisions regretting this. And it breaks your heart on a humanitarian level. Anyway, President Trump has now said federal funding is gone if you allow men to take over women's sports. By the way, hopefully I'll be able to get to it. But I did see the Pam Bondi has now revoked funding for sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So maybe I can get to that on our X feed. I think we have some stuff breaking on that front. Or they've paused funding, just like they did with Canada and Mexico. It's like you're changing your policies immediately, or else like we will cut off. Like you are subverting our Constitution. You're doing treasonous acts. You can do your own thing on a state level, but this is a national issue. You cannot be flooding your cities and your states with illegal alien invaders.
So this will effectively end the attack on female athletes at public K-12 schools and virtually all U.S. colleges and universities. I don't think we've missed anything, but if we do, we'll make it up very quickly with an order. And I don't think we will. With my act.
So, I mean, look at that. It's done. Girls are protected again. Bravo. Pretty straightforward. And I can't believe we live in a world where we even had to make this a situation. Democrat protesters be like, Elon killed my senator's money laundering operation. Grow up, kids. The rampant theft is over. From the Babylon Bee, liberals are outraged as Trump says men can't punch women in the face for sport. Oh, here's a wild story. This car is getting circled in by these guys on bikes. I better mute it because there's a song playing in the background. They're still messing with this guy. And they're filming it. Okay, the music's off.
I'm videoing it.
So here's the road rage. What would you do if... Pause. What would you do? Now you've been circled by two vehicles. You've tried to get out of the way. They've stopped in front of you. Now they're approaching you. What do you do?
Yeah, they try that on someone. Oh, I bet you they wouldn't do that to me.
I think I need police.
What would you do if this was you? Are you ready to defend yourself?
I'm literally at the light on Rancho and Okie, and there's this elderly man in a white car, in a red car, and these two guys have gotten off their motorcycles, and I'm not sure what they're about to do. No, they're off of their motorcycles. They're blocking the intersection, and they're like, and oh my God, the old guy just got out a gun. I'm sorry, I just panicked. The guy just got out of his red vehicle, and he has a gun.
Bunch of punks.
Yes,
I don't know
he has a silver.
Now, to be fair, I don't know the backstory. Maybe this guy driving did something to upset these guys, but this is an FAFO situation.
Gun in his left hand.
Oh my God, I'm shaking. I have it all on video.
We're literally stopped at the light on Rancho
Now listen to the operator. She's like, "Where is this at again?"
and Okie.
That's what they get. That's what they get.
I'm on Okie heading west.
There you go.
Yes. It's silver and it's small, and the guys on the motorcycles just flagged down a firefighter.
It's silver and it's small. The person on the operator line is asking about the gun. Shut up about the gun, operator. Of course we use guns to defend ourselves. That's why they exist. The demonization of people using guns in self-defense has to fucking stop in this country. I have a friend got caught up in a situation similar, had multiple people surround them, got out, protected herself, and then they had the cops called on them, and their life has been a living hell for many years ever since. Kyle Rittenhouse, George Zimmerman, Daniel Penny. Self-defense cases are being turned into the opposite of what happened. You're attacked, you're threatened, you pull out your piece, or you put someone in a hold to defend yourself, and then they try to make that person into the bad guy. I am so sick of the good people being painted as the bad guy.
But they're the ones that antagonized the guy in the red car.
And I have it all on video.
There you go. Thank you, person on calling. If this person wasn't videoing this, and she says, no, it's the people on the motorcycle that were antagonizing all this, that guy in the red Corolla could have his life completely ruined.
And, yeah, my coworker is videotaping the whole incident. The guy with the gun, he's white and elderly.
I'm gonna let them know I have
He's
it.
probably in his 60s. Probably about 5'5".
I have it.
What an odd situation. Yeah, it's called self-defense. Idiots on bikes starting fights. Now, if there's more to the story, you always got to see more to the story, but it is important.
Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
moving on. We're going to go more lightning round so I can give you so much news. You can't believe it today. Representative Eli Crane just made the funniest statement I've seen all day.
Would it be possible to get some therapy dogs in here for my colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
We could ask Mr. Raskin Shrink to.
I'm worried about their mental stability. Mr. Chairman.
I'm worried about their mental stability. There needs to be a mental health evaluation. Phoenix Ammunition says it's not just Everytown, it's Giffords, March for Our Lives, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and Trace, all of them. By the way, this is exactly what I'm talking about, the demonization of our ability to defend ourselves. These backward blue cities saying, oh, we're a sanctuary city. No, you're breaking the law, and you need to be dealt with. And you're trying to disarm people in your cities and states from defending themselves against the brown shirts you brought in, the criminal aliens that you brought in. And you're going to say that we're not allowed to have guns to protect ourselves. Fuck you. Completely astroturfed opposition to your Second Amendment rights with the goal of convincing the masses to disarm and obey. It's treason, pure and simple. This is from D and Fringe. Actually, let me click on this because I think there might be a couple posts here. They usually do a drop. Treason. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title, but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. No Fuds Ghost says, guess who had U.S. aid money laundered to them? Everytown for gun safety, of course. The CIA has lost the plot. The CIA hates you. The CIA is running U.S. aid, stealing your tax dollars to fund all of these NGOs, these fake groups, Everytown, Giffords, March for Our Lives, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, The Trace, all of them to go after your Second Amendment right to defend yourself against idiots like that on a bike encircling you. That is pure treason. The CIA has lost the fucking plot. And it's been this way for a long time. But I don't know if we've ever really fully understood the depths of it. If we've ever fully understood just how much trouble we've been in. I have been railing against this anti-Second Amendment stuff forever. It might be one of the main motivating factors for creating the new American media in the first place. There is no freedom if you can't defend yourself. Charity graph displaying Everytown for gun safety. All right, so I guess that's all they're doing. They're kind of walking it back. Follow D and Fringe though. They put some good stuff out. Secretary Sean Duffy says, okay, so here's what happens. Sean Duffy says, big news, talk to the Doge team. They're going to plug in to help upgrade our aviation system. Hillary Clinton says they have no relevant experience. Most of them aren't old enough to rent a car. And you're going to let them mess with airline safety that's already deteriorated on your watch? Secretary Sean Duffy responds, Madam Secretary, with all due respect, experienced Washington bureaucrats are the reason that our nation's infrastructure is crumbling. You need to sit this one out. God, Hillary needs to... So much better than we anticipated. Hillary needs to pay for her crimes and her treason. All right, what is this one here? U.S. aid. Quite literally funded news propaganda, foreign government revolutions, biological weapons development, and illegal immigration, housing payments. Chelsea Clinton's organization got $85 million in U.S. aid money. The nepotism just keeps getting wilder. Not about politics, just tired of tax dollars funding political dynasties. Shut it down. What shady government spending should they investigate next? Breaking. Did you know that Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, who defends U.S. aid funding, is also a director at the International Republican Institute, the organization that received $130 million from U.S. aid? Elon asks, is this legal? That was from Publius. What is this? Project Grant, Agency for International Development, World Economic Forum. What, $53 million to the World Economic Forum. Why are we doing that? Church immigration stuff? Kanekoa the Great saying that USAID funneled $53 million to EcoHealth Alliance, which then used U.S. taxpayer funds to support gain-of-function research on coronaviruses at the Wuhan lab, research that likely led to the creation of COVID-19. The CIA's deception regarding COVID-19 origin becomes much clearer as the CIA tried to pay off analysts to bury findings that COVID was likely released from a lab. That monstrous attack killed my mother in the hospital a week before the world shut down. She had a respiratory issue right at the end there as it was working its way through the country and we were trying to figure out what was happening. And it killed my brother at the end of the pandemic. Half of my family wiped out. My name is Inigo Montoya. USAID, Fauci, killed my mother, killed my brother, comma, ... Yeah, I'm not letting this go. Would you? Would you let it go? If it were you, half your family's gone? Would you let it go? No, I'm not. Hell no. Nancy Mace doing Nancy Mace things.
No,
shared by Benny Johnson.
USAID. They're screaming about Elon Musk over there, but hey, George Soros and his boy are okay. They scream that we're all a threat to democracy when they've been systematically dismantling democracy before our eyes. They've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and there's no going back. So I would tell my colleagues across the other side of the aisle, take your salty tears and sit right back down. USAID has long strayed from its mission to effectively and efficiently administer aid to advance American interests. We all now know.
Yep. Take your salty tears and sit down. They are treasonous. Have you seen this Leaving MAGA? God, these astroturfed clowns are the worst.
Hashtag Leaving MAGA is now becoming a trend, but
no, it's not. You made that up. And if it is a trend on any social media network, liberals have done it. No conservative is mad about anything going on right now.
But see, I'm confused because we've been telling you motherfuckers for the past couple months,
Telling us what? See, this is the problem with liberals, right? When they lose, they just go apeshit. They go crazy. They just say random bullshit. They act like they know everything. You lost. We won. We're not mad. Everything Trump's doing, we want done. I don't know how this is confusing to y'all. I don't know who told y'all that it's not that way. But you're making it up. This is that alternative universe y'all live in sometimes. We're happy. Why can't you just go away?
Yeah, why can't you just go away? Wonder who's paying her. Is USAID paying her? Here's Rogan on USAID.
You know, what's fascinating right now is we're getting a chance to see what happens when you take a business approach to the government.
Finally.
In the White House. We're seeing right now with this whole USAID thing where they're uncovering massive amounts of corruption and waste and just a lot of weird shady shit with NGOs and where an enormous amount of money is going. And you're seeing someone look at this thing that is incredibly efficient almost by design, and instead of saying like, well, this is just how it is and this is how these politicians get funded, so let's just keep this thing going the same way it is and make some incremental changes to try to make people happy so we still get elected. Instead of that, you're seeing a politician, a president who's coming in who can't get reelected, so he's just going ham. And he's just cleaning out everything. And people are freaking out. The same people that say we need radical change. We need radical change. We've got corruption. We need radical change. Okay, well, here's your radical change. We don't need this. But you do. The government does. They need oversight. And they haven't had that. And because of that, you're seeing this not just waste. You could call it waste, but it's deeper. It's deeper than waste. It's corruption. And
it's deeper than corruption. It's treason.
You're seeing that corruption get weeded out. I am hoping that this is successful and that it yields a benefit to the American people, to the working class people, to everybody, where they recognize, like, hey, we can't just be spending all our fucking tax money on nonsense.
Right.
And it all should be done with a real clear understanding of getting results.
Right.
If that happens and that idea spreads across the country, because ideas spread and,
that's right.
people change their minds.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes it happens. One guy in the neighborhood will go, you know what, fuck this, I'm fed up. And then everybody like, yeah, I've been kind of thinking that too. I just didn't want to say it. And
that is that part right there. That part right there. My God. That is the part that I mentioned at the top of the show that I did something terrifying. On Tuesday, I became a stand-up comedian. I've wanted to do this forever. And I try to be funny. Keith knows, Kenneth knows, like the regulars, like you guys know who I am. You know I bring humor to things, but I'm also passionate. AF. I am super passionate. There's no middle ground when it comes to putting a dude in a little girl's locker room. There's no middle ground when it comes to mutilating children. There's no middle ground when it comes to our Second Amendment right to defend ourselves. There's no middle ground on silencing our speech or trying to go after and harm journalists who are just doing journalism things. There's no middle ground. And I get passionate. I get fired up. But I did stand-up comedy. I finally did it. I got on stage and I did it. I just saw Dave Smith on that stage a couple days ago. Dave's crushing it. He's doing really well. And I got on the same stage and I got a couple of laughs. And it was my very first performance. I was literally reading off note cards. I couldn't commit it to memory because I didn't have time. I would have talked myself out of it. I was literally up there with these note cards. And like, I remember one of, and as I moved my hand, like my hand was shaking. I'm a good humor man. Tips the cap. But yeah, I'm like trying to go through my notes and my hand was shaking. But I did it. Let me read you the message I got from my buddy Iggy. I keep telling Iggy he needs to write a regular segment for us. He said, I have to tell you how awesome I think it is that you did some stand-up, because it is one of my bucket list things that I want to do when I get back from my world travels. Specifically, I'd like to see if I could do a minute on the Kill Tony show in Austin, Texas. I've been following the development of that show for some time, and it's something I've always wanted to try. So you're adding to the inspiration. How cool is that? Somebody in the neighborhood, you go, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I agree. I've been thinking the same thing, but now that you say it, yeah, let's do something about it. I know that me being vocal on social media for 14 years with the New American Media has led to some of you puffing your chest up a little bit and maybe sending a message that you weren't going to send, speaking up at a meeting or speaking up at your home or speaking up in your community or a church. I bravely take the slings and arrows of mental midgets every day. And when you're in the groups, you see me battling these morons. I like calling them less-offs. It's a nice moron, less off. Had a cat named Mo, so we got our next cat named it Les. Mo and Les. Smokey and Les. Mo and Les. But me jumping up and do it, what did he say? He continued here. Ignacio, he says, that's awesome, dude. I really encourage you to keep doing it. It's such a great character expanding exercise, and I think it's just fun to see what works and what doesn't. I've heard comedians say the same joke will kill with one audience and totally bomb with the next, so it's a real art to hone everything and make it as tight as you can. I think that's just great. When I come back from my world travels, I'll definitely be hitting you up. You know how cool that is? something I did reminded this guy that it's something he wants to do. Now, maybe he does it, maybe he doesn't, but it gave him another boost in the arm. Just like Joe Rogan was saying here, like, maybe all it takes is to watch somebody else doing it, and then you want to do it. You know, it's motivating. Hey, if he can get up there and do a show, I can get up there and do a show. So, yeah, I did it. Wow. And I watched it. I finally forced myself to watch it. I got a couple more laughs than I thought I did. I did not hear the laughs up on stage. I couldn't see shit. It was all bright light. I just felt like I was fit. It reminded me of when I was on the game show. I was on Catch 21 with Carlton from Fresh Prince. It was so bright. I could see the audience, though. I could see the co-host. I could see Carlton, Alfonso Ribeiro. But this was just pure blinding. I could not get a bead on any of it. But I did it. I was a little short. If I had a second chance to do it, I could move pretty fast. Should I do the routine now? No, I don't. I want to do the routine one more time because I have a couple Super Bowl. It's all based. Anyway. But if I tell you what it is, then you're going to miss the misdirection. Anyway, did I use any Ken jokes? I don't think so on this one. I don't think so. But I don't think I'm going to post it either. Anyway, but what Rogan is saying here, you know, just somebody speaks up and maybe that encourages the next person to speak up. And I crossed this bucket list item up. By the way, after that show, I went to a second comedy club and went, I don't know if that went as well as I thought. Let me just try some crowd work. That did not go well either. I gotta tried like jumping in, talking about the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you what, that crowd on a Tuesday evening in that environment, they are not sports fans per se. I did get a little action with the gambling angle about asking about the gambling apps, but I didn't have any jokes prepared and I didn't know where to go with it. But I tried something different. I tried to just freestyle it after planning one. I'm working myself up, but like the trick is like do this thing like wherever you're at. Try to tense your core. Like try to like squeeze your chest, your back, your abs. And like, you know, that tightness, that feeling of like you're bracing for impact, like someone's going to punch you in the stomach, brace for it. That's what nervousness feels like. And that's what excitement feels like. So if you can just try to convince yourself that your nerves are in excitement, you can get through some terrifying situations. I mean, I almost walked out of that place and said, I'm not ready for this. I needed to practice this. I don't know what I'm doing. I am so not ready. But then I was like, I've sat through terrible comedians up here. They're way worse than anything I'm about to do. It was awesome. It was awesome.
And then
exactly
people
right,
start
Joe.
talking, and then it's not a scary thing to discuss anymore.
That's right. It opens the door.
You know what's...
And that was the Mark Twain quote that I read the other day. In the beginning of a change, the patriot is a scarce man, and brave, and hated, and scorned. When his case succeeds, the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot. But yeah, doing it in the beginning, that shit ain't easy. Beer drinking army vet says, what did we have before Kennedy formed USAID? A booming industrialized economy. What did we have before Carter created the Department of Education? The world's #1 ranking in education. What did we have before Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency? Affordable energy. Acting like we can't survive without these agencies when the baby boomer generation flourished without them is nonsense.
Now the breaking news.
Here's an update that's way overdue from Benny Johnson.
President Trump is now expected to get back the classified documents and other materials the FBI seized from Mar-a-Lago. Stand by for details on that as the new Attorney General is carrying out Trump's agenda to overhaul the Justice Department. Also tonight is President Trump's plan for a U.S. takeover of Gaza sends shockwaves around the world.
That was a wild story. I'm still trying to understand what he means, what he's intending to do. I have a lot of questions about the Gaza thing.
His administration is suggesting he didn't mean it when he clearly and very publicly said he thought Palestinians should leave their home permanently. Plus, new signs of frustration and desperation as eggs are in short supply and prices are soaring. Authorities now trying to crack the case.
Anyway, but yeah, the classified documents from the corrupt Mar-a-Lago raid are going back to President Trump. This about the Panama Canal plan.
Panama Canal plan is already working. This man's making moves like he's Magnus Carlsen. Checkmate on the board every time. The government of Panama is now dropping all the fees they were charging American government ships to go through the canal.
That's a savings.
And this is just days after they canceled their relationship with the Chinese government. This move is going to save the United States millions every single year. President Trump really saved tens of millions of dollars without having to do anything. Maybe we can use that money to do things that are important to this country. President Trump already announced today that he wants to take this canal back, and he's going to have it.
We're trying to take back the Panama Canal, little things like that. It'll all happen.
The truth is, Panama had a treaty not to have any other country operate the canal, and they violated the treaty by crafting a very interesting partnership with China through China's Belt and Road Initiative. The United States has absolute legal authority to take the canal back. We built it. Ships had to go all the way through South America and then come back up. With that canal, they just went right through. It was masterful engineering. It wasn't built by China, it was built by the United States, and thousands of people died doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if Panama comes out and says, American ships just get free passage completely. So they're going to be doing everything in their power to please President Trump, and it depends on what the president wants to do. If he wants to take it back, it's his absolute right, and it's our absolute right to own it. I'd certainly rather own that than Gaza. By the way, I'm really praying him saying that Gaza thing was just some negotiating tactic to get the other Arab states to start caring a little bit, to rebuild it for the Palestinians, because I do not want to be owning Gaza, kicking the people that live there and own the land out. I'm not good with that, man, but it is what it is. Trump's
yeah, I'm anticipating that was some sort of negotiating tactic. I'm not sure it really landed the right way because it has everybody sort of confused.
Everyone.
They say a good agreement, like a good divorce arrangement, is where both sides are equally unhappy. That's the Solomon's tale. Two women claiming, that's my baby. No, that's my baby. All right. I see no resolution to this, so therefore I will cut the baby in half and give you each half. And the one lady's like, all right. And the other lady's like, no, Danny, no, just don't do that. Let her have the, just don't kill my baby. Then he goes, aha, you are the mother. Take the baby. The hell was the point I was making there? About when both sides are equally unhappy, that's when you have a divorce. A fair divorce. When one side's ecstatic and the other's like, what the hell just happened? That's garbage. This Gaza thing, find me anyone anywhere that's like, hey, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, God King Trump. Oh, playing four-dimensional chess there. I don't know enough about this Gaza thing other than the clip that we all watch going, huh? You're doing what? But yeah, how about Jordan? How about Egypt? How about some of these other countries step up and show a presence, give a shit? And if you're not for the terrorists, I don't know, work with what's going on there. It's an open-air prison. Okay, well, why is it open air? Why aren't they letting him into Egypt? Jordan, why aren't the other countries participating? One side's always the bad guy, but the other sides just get to wash their hands of it. That's not right. So if it's a negotiating tactic, man, I guess. It was weird, though. Still trying to unpack what it is. DJ Kenspin. All right, DJ Kenspin. Pied Piper saying, I love how Trump is going scorched earth. This has been needed for years, for decades. This is from Old Guy Not Stupid, talking about what Doge has saved so far.
Who's hating on Elon right now? Mind your business with things that are more important, like this giant zit on the tip of my nose. He has saved the American taxpayers in just 2 weeks $56 billion. $40 billion by shutting down USAID, $1 billion on DEI hires, $1 billion on DEI programs, $1 billion on government contracts, $1 billion in foreign aid, $44 million on empty buildings, and $45 million on executive consulting.
Okay, so here's a challenge to all you Democrat leaders, elected officials who are screaming and yelling about Elon Musk. I would like for you to show me how all of you put together in all the years that you've collectively been in Congress, how you've all together collectively saved the American taxpayer $50 billion. Because I don't think you can do it.
No, all they do is money launder. That's their thing. They're a bunch of pirates. Oh, here's the egg story that I was telling you about.
Christian Dayton.
Thanks, Caroline. Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens.
That is insanity. What the hell did they do that for?
Which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees, including his nominee for the United States Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the plethora of ways that President Trump has addressed saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing to doing that in the days ahead. Thank you guys so much. Christian.
Once again, saving costs. I don't know. It's an inarticulate phrase. She's got a little room to grow.
Look, I got a challenge.
The rest of that was really good there. Here's about misinformation and overreaction to President Trump efforts to make the government efficient. I'm not a huge Mike Johnson fan, but here we go. This is needed.
Question, Chad. You know me. I'm a fierce advocate and defender of Article 1. I mean, look, we are the legislative branch. There's a reason the founding fathers put the Congress, the legislative branch, as the first article in the Constitution, and we're going to vigorously defend that. But what's happening right now, I think there's a gross overreaction in the media to what is happening. The executive branch of government in our system has the right to evaluate how executive branch agencies are operating and to ensure that not only the intent of Congress in funding mechanisms, but also the stewardship of precious American taxpayer dollars is being handled well. That's what they're doing by putting a pause on some of these agencies and by evaluating them, by doing these internal audits. That is a long overdue, much welcome development. That's what the American people demand and deserve. And that's what's happening. So we don't see this as a threat to Article 1 at all. We see this as an active, engaged, committed executive branch authority doing what the executive branch should do. They have broad discretion in all the funding, as you all know, because you follow this. When Congress funds an agency, they give broad discretion to the executive branch on how it's administered. They're using that authority right now in a way it hasn't been used in a long time, so it looks radical. It's not. I call it stewardship. I think they're doing right by the American taxpayer, and we support that principle. When it comes to the point of codification and legislation and all the rest, we'll be evaluating all those things. But right now, I think they're acting within the scope of their authority. There's be legal challenges. The courts will have some things to say about this. But so far as I'm concerned, Chad, this is not a usurpation of authority in any way. It's not a power grab. I think they're doing what we've all expected and hoped and asked that they would do. For years, members of the legislative branch in Congress, Senate and House have asked for details. They've asked for the expenses of USAID. I mean, look, this is what was uncovered. 3 just quick examples.
It's a rogue government operating inside of our government. patently insane.
Examples. I mean, you tell me if this is unreasonable. Some of the stuff that the money was being spent on that we didn't even know. Crazy examples that came out. Look, $100 million on initiatives like expanding atheism in Nepal. That's what
expanding atheism. You know, when you have a godless society, you got a rough situation.
American taxpayers should be paying for it? No way. Transgender operas in Colombia, drag shows in Ecuador? No way. The American people want us to, we have a $36 trillion federal debt. It is a serious threat to the future and security of our nation. We got to spend money better. And if this executive branch and this White House is going to take the initiative to dig in and find those details and expose them, we applaud it. We're all on board. Thanks so much.
Bravo. I concur. This now from Breitbart. FCC has opened an investigation into Soros-backed radio stations because they've been broadcasting live locations of undercover ICE agents. Did you hear that one? Huh. So let's talk about USAID, aka the CIA. God, I feel like I'm just talking in abbreviations and letters now, but all right. Okay. So Michael Schellenberger talking here about how USAID, CIA, our government money was used to impeach Trump on bullshit. Which impeachment? Is this the one over Ukraine because President Trump figured out all the money laundering through Ukraine and they tried to impeach him for trying to stop it? This is mafia. This is bad, bad, bad shit embedded inside of our government.
This new piece on Substack that the USAID and the CIA helped orchestrate Trump's impeachment.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, you know, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home, as we've been discovering as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing. We know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, you know, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did.
Regime change in America. Taking your tax dollars to do regime change, a coup in America. Line them all up. This is the exact reason why the treason clause was written.
Censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. So I think it's just one of many revelations that we'll see coming out in the next few weeks.
So USAID was involved in regime change abroad and here at home.
Follow Asher Press. Yeah, they do some good stuff that I share. I don't even know how else to say it, guys. I don't even know what else needs to be said. Hey, you know what? Maybe, shockingly enough, maybe Cat Williams is the one who's going to say it for us. I didn't have this on my February bingo card either.
Because I'm saying, you think I'm just in Mexico and I'm defending America. Because are you Mexican? Do you know where Mexico is? No, this ain't Mexico. It used to be Mexico, motherfucker, and now it's Phoenix, goddammit.
cat wilding out. Who saw this coming? Finally, some backlash to these globalists.
So if you love Mexico, bitch, get the fuck over there.
Wow. I did not have that on the bingo card. All right, shifting gears here. We're going to lightning round some of these and wrap it up. Here's Vivek with an interesting idea. Official flagrant. That's the podcast. What's his name? That guy. Doggone it. What's his name?
Give you one idea I'm a fan of. Right? In this
gay marriage.
Has nothing to do with this.
Good, okay.
Just making sure. The savings of shutting down a lot of the bureaucracy, you could take a tiny fraction of that. And
Andrew Schwartz.
Every kid who's born have $10,000 invested fully in the stock market. They can't touch it till they're 18. You want to know what the biggest source of income inequality is? We can gripe about CEOs or whatever. It's actually compound interest.
Yeah.
It's compound interest, and not compound interest in bonds or in the bank account.
Yeah,
it's compound interest in the stock market. So in a certain sense, what you're doing here is you are cultivating a generation of Americans
who are not patriotic and
who win through capitalism. Yeah. Right? So when they graduated
Look, this is I'm loving this idea on face value. Make people pot committed and cheering for your country instead of against it. Give them skin in the game. Skin in the game is what's going to save everything. That's what capitalism is really all about. You care if you have something to care about. But when you're what was that, promoting atheism in Tibet or something, like, or wherever the hell that was, like, you need to have a belief in something bigger than yourself. And if you have skin in the game, you care. You don't care if there's no reason to be a good person on this earth, then you don't care and you don't act like a good person. You do shady shit.
age 18, compound interest through the success of the stock market and capitalism is no longer a source of envy of somebody else's success, but the success that allowed you to have a $250,000 nest egg to be able to get a head start in the American dream.
And they believe in America more.
But it does not take a lot of money. We're talking about percentage of the federal budget invested in this. It's tiny. It's like infinitesimally small fraction. Let me give you one idea I'm a fan of. Right?
The idea sounds great, actually. But what are the downsides? I'm curious. Left that comment, see if people get back to me on that. Here you go. Here's a classic meme. When you're finding fraud and somebody yells stop, that's who's doing the fraud. Pretty straightforward. Representative Dan Goldman is now putting out videos in Chinese instructing illegal aliens how to evade ICE. Why is he trying to protect Chinese murderers, spies, and criminals who are in our country illegally? Geez, and a Chinese migrant wanted for an LA murder brazenly tries to sneak back into the U.S. and finally gets caught? So what's going on with this Representative Dan Goldman? When is he going to get investigated and indicted? This is treason. I'm not throwing the treason word around lightly. These people are all earning it, and we have to take it seriously. I said about this meme, with this meme, that argument has ended. Democrats go, no one voted for Elon. Also, Democrats, here's Kamala Harris. Literally nobody's ever voted for her ever. She was handed her primary in a coup to overthrow Biden, who was installed as a puppet in a coup to overthrow Trump. Kamala never received a primary vote. By the way, Cat Williams Pitbull sure to be on tour soon. Check this out.
Whoever the fuck doesn't like the United States of America, may God bless you, but fuck you at the same time. If you don't like the United States of America, go back to the countries that we the fuck from, and you'll see how much you appreciate the United States of America.
Yeah.
So whoever the fuck doesn't like the United States of America, may God bless you, but fuck you at the same time.
God bless you, but fuck you at the same time. Massive fire in Manhattan. Just saw that. I'm not sure where this was or what the update was. Pray for everybody involved.
Done.
Here you go. Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan. The most interesting conversation that I didn't know I needed, but I definitely needed.
Is equal, right? Some is counterproductive.
You know what the thing about guns? I'll just say this for your audience. It will all be looking at me thinking I'm the 2A gun grabber. The reality is it's a complete cultural difference. In my country, everybody used to have a gun. Everybody used to in the old.
Yeah, and they need to. Again, to defend your country from the invasion that you're allowing.
Now, very few people have guns. There are incredibly tight restrictions. And the consequence of that is we have almost zero gun crime.
Was your country, is London safe now?
No, I'm about to come to that. The problem we have is with knives, right? So I'm not saying for a moment you get rid of all the guns. No.
You don't have a problem with knives. You have a problem with people. And if someone has a knife, you pull out a gun and you stop the threat. That's called self-defense. And if you don't have that, you're not a free person. You're not a free man.
Nobody gets killed. Of course they do. We have a knife crime problem epidemic in our country.
No, you have a people problem. You have the kind of people who stab each other.
Well,
and you didn't used to have that.
Well, we did. We did.
No, you didn't.
We did.
I mean, it's measurable. How many people got stabbed in London in 1970 or shot compared to now?
Sure, but
it's a massive increase because the people, the attitudes of the people, the actions of the people are totally different. You've got different people and different behaviors. And like, you can't admit that because I'm not sure why.
No, because actually there are lots of white.
Guns is equal, right? Some is counterproductive.
You know what the thing about guns? I'll just say this for your audience. It will all be looking.
Anyway, so yeah, check out that interview. It's pretty fascinating. I'm a fan. This about George Soros and U.S. aid funding his liberal remake of the world.
Yeah, so George Soros has the Open Society Foundations and organizations, and he's not only active here in the United States, but in other countries. And conservatives in these other countries are disturbed about his advocacy for left-wing values, and he's often been able to partner with the State Department, USAID, to advance these values. And we've exposed how government money was sent either to, in partnership with Soros's operations directly, or groups he supports in countries like Macedonia, Albania. And I tell you, you know, it doesn't take a lot of money to sway policy in a country like Albania or Macedonia. And of course, they're able to leverage the money. Any of these left-wing groups. It's not just Soros. It's the whole transnational left. They leverage USAID money to lend credibility and political power to their advocacy for the radical left in these various countries. So they get the rubber stamp of approval and the tacit support of the U.S. government through USAID monies. And the spigot has got to be turned off.
The spigot does have to be turned off. And all you have to look at is how much it costs to get somebody installed in one of these illegal blue cities that is doing sanctuary city treason, encouraging non-Americans to invade America illegally. That's treason. The district attorneys that are allowing the crime completely ruined these cities. They ruined Los Angeles. They ruined San Francisco. Go to your favorite liberal shithole city where the district attorneys do not prosecute the monsters. Everything is worse off when you don't take 95% of the problems are caused by 5% of the people. Do the math, however you want to make it work. Most of the problems are caused by a handful of people. Go get them and watch what happens. Ask Bukele how things are going in El Salvador. All you got to do is grab the bad guys. Guess what? The bullshit's going to stop. unless you want your cities to be run like a hellscape. And if you're into that, then you're a treasonous monster. Elon Musk and Doge do not have access to taxpayer information.
I have an article here in Politico. I'm reclaiming my time. Thank you. This is an article in Politico that was written after the dinner that we had Monday night with the Treasury Secretary, where he confirmed to the House Financial Services Committee that Elon Musk does not have access to American taxpayers' personal data. So I'm going to say it one more time. Everybody that's calling my office, everybody's flipping out, the media that's lying about this. The Doge employees do not have access to American citizens' personally identifiable information. Their only goal is to track sources and uses and make sure that the money that we're spending is going where it says it's supposed to go. This is shocking. It hasn't been done yet, but they're doing it now, and this is just the beginning. Again, I'd say buckle up, because this is going to keep going, and we're going to save this country, and we're going to get out of this ridiculous financial situation we're in. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Heck yeah. Man, yeah, this is just week 3. I'm so excited. Joey Manarino says, can Doge release the list of sex assault settlements in Congress? Taxpayers paid for these settlements. We deserve to know who and what we paid to cover up. I agree. Insurrection Barbie saying, according to the Columbia Journalism Review, U.S. aid supported 6,200 journalists, 707 news outlets, and 279 media sector civil society organizations in 30 different countries. No wonder the news all sounds the same. Here's a USAID whistleblower speaking out. Why can't I click it?
At USAID, and what they do, the first thing, did they send you to DEI camp?
Yes.
Why couldn't I? Hold on. Why couldn't I click that?
Mark Moyer, he's a USAID whistleblower, and he joins me now. So, Mark,
DEI, I can't.
You start.
That's really weird. Here's some more of the insane USAID spending. $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes. $2 million promoting tourism to Lebanon. $20 million for a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Sending Ukrainians to Paris Fashion Week. $1.5 million for DEI in Serbia. $70,000 for DEI musical in Ireland. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. $6 million for tourism in Egypt. $1 million to help disabled people in Tajikistan become climate leaders. $15 million for contraceptives and condoms in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. Dinesh says, Doge is not in the Constitution. Yeah, well, neither is the IRS or the Federal Reserve, nor a whole host of other governmental institutions. Shut those down and we'll gladly give up Doge. CJ Pearson saying, I don't care if my pilot is black. I care if my pilot is qualified. I don't care if my air traffic controller is a woman. I care if my air traffic controller is qualified. I don't care about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I care about making it home alive. Here's the newly confirmed U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi calling for the Epstein client list to be released to the public. Expose them all.
We know he was on the plane.
He's talking about Bill Clinton in the picture here.
Not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years.
I mean, a lot of planes have beds, but, you know.
Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior. So that's the difference there. And I think Americans see the two-tier justice system. But, you know, we don't know. They're saying Clinton has not been to his private island, but he has traveled all over the world with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know.
All right, so let's get to the bottom of it.
Well, we know he.
There you go. The war on women's sports is over. Congratulations from the White House. I can't believe it had to come to this to reverse the Obama doctrine that caused all this craziness. But here we are. Thank you, President Trump. There we go. There's my thoughts on that. Unreal. Okay, last couple of things here. Stephen Miller says, for the last 4 years, President Trump's inauguration. Oh, I'm sorry. For the last 4 years before President Trump's inauguration, we had no democracy. Joe Biden was a puppet in charge of nothing. The corporate media and Democrat Party engaged in a monstrous cover-up to conceal this now indisputable truth. Our government was instead run by unelected bureaucrats who ruthlessly weaponized state power against their political enemies, engineered mass illegal voting in our elections, installed a draconian censorship regime, instituted a colossal system of state-sponsored racial discrimination, orchestrated a vast border invasion to try to permanently alter the balance of power, trafficked 500,000 children across the border, allowed criminals to freely terrorize our citizens, and raided the Treasury to fund a political army of Marxist radicals in a bid for permanent control over U.S. institutions. President Trump saved America and democracy itself. Long live MAGA. We are truly on the best timeline here. Jason Meister says, hey, Democrats, if you hadn't illegally spied on Trump, undermined Trump's presidency, stole the 2020 election, arrested Trump, charged Trump, indicted Trump, gagged Trump, censored Trump, raided Trump's private residence, jailed Trump's supporters, attempted to remove Trump from state ballots, convicted Trump, and tried to kill Trump, none of this would be happening. But you fucked around and now you're finding out. Signed to the American people. By the way, right here, look at downtown LA. They're looking around. These illegal alien protests. Trying to shut down our freeways. Little kids too right here. Little kids. You're going home, fool. Kevin Kiley says it's true. Gavin Newsom defaulted on a $20 billion loan from the federal government, forcing our businesses to pay it back with a tax hike. Yet he found money to give free health care to every illegal immigrant and create a slush fund for Trump-proofing the state? Chef Andrew Gruhl says California still hasn't cleared its COVID-era loan with the federal government for EDD funding. This is the loan that they defaulted on last year, forcing businesses in California to cover the payment. So, how about that? All right, wrapping up a couple of things on X. What'd you say here? Pied Piper saying that Vivek should make an official announcement this month. Okay. Yeah, Doge are the brakes. I mean, it's the emergency brake. I mean, we're going to go skidding and shrieking for a while, but we're just warming up. So I guess LeBron James is behind the effort to get Myles Garrett out of Cleveland. I've never hated LeBron James more. I might have never hated LeBron James more than I do right now. He's going out doing a media tour. I hate Myles Garrett right now.
I mean, he's seen everything. You know,
LeBron
side of it, and you know, his advice has been very valuable. You know, him, his team, and.
Very valuable. His advice and his team. You're represented by the same management company, and you're trying to take the biggest player in Cleveland football out of Cleveland. Fuck you, LeBron. Maybe I'll finally sell my cards of LeBron's.
Obviously, if you don't mind, we'll just jump right into what.
And I'll go all in on being all out on LeBron.
You put out on for the world to see about wanting potentially a change of address for you professionally.
Yeah.
And why did you do that?
I don't even want to hear it. I like Rich Eisen. I've talked with him. I was a bartender at I think the Oscars. Talked with him for a while. Anyway, I did share a couple things on the X feed. I just want to get to. I don't know. What's this? It's just bad all the way around. Keep in mind, Myles Garrett is also a Clutch Sports client, a.k.a. a LeBron James client, and nobody knows how to find a way to vacate the city of Cleveland better than LeBron Raymond James Sr. Oh, yeah, Sr. I guess you had that. What is Pam Bondi saying here? Oh no, that Pam Bondi talking about Hillary Clinton. All right, we'll just end with this one. Hold on. Director of CIA John Ratcliffe said that the FBI ordered Barack Obama not to arrest Hillary Clinton for espionage in violation of 18 U.S. Code 793, gathering, transmitting defense information. Should have been. And yeah, President Trump's executive order is the reason why resources are now surging in Western North Carolina. All right. I think those are the only things I wanted to talk about today. I might be back at 3 o'clock with Blake. I'm not certain. Maybe not. Maybe. But I will be back at 5 o'clock for certain on Strictly Football with Mike Barra. We will do that show a little bit later. LeBron knows. Yeah. Ugh. Disgusting watching this Myles Garrett thing play out. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I love you guys. I appreciate every one of you jumping in the show and leaving your comments. It has been fantastic. And we'll be back later at 5 o'clock doing football, Strictly Football, talking about the Super Bowl, doing some prop bets and such. This is where I tell you the places to find us. We're on patreon.com/The New American Media, on Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. That's the way that you can support this show. We are not funded by USAID, but we would love to be more well-funded so we can provide more content to you. Thank you so much. Follow The New American Media on Facebook. We have a page there. On Instagram, we have a page for The New American Media. Truth Social, we have a page. X at American_media_. Our Rumble account is where we are monetized. So please subscribe to our Rumble channel. That's different than our profile. Our Rumble channel, you can do super chats and stuff. The New American Media. YouTube has 1,700 videos, although they've deleted several because they're asshats. YouTube.com/@The New American Media. Hit subscribe. And on Spotify, the Agree to Disagree Show and the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Also, TNAM and TNAM Chat on Telegram and Signal. There we go. Those are all the places to find us, and we will be back at 5 o'clock, like I said, talking sports, maybe 3 o'clock with Blake. I'm not entirely certain. Fingers crossed. We will see. But until then, I appreciate every one of you for joining the show. No, not the music yet. I have a device that I need to power up, and I did, but I haven't been in that location in a while, but I will get back to it, and I will get some music playing. Kenneth sent me a music to our P.O. box a while ago, and I look forward to listening to it. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from the beat of Kenneth, from the heartbeat of Kenneth. These are the tracks, and these are the days of our lives. These are the tracks of the Kenneth. I will listen to it soon. Promise. All right. Signing out on behalf of everybody out there in the TNAM universe. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again.